From a convert's perspective, after I came here many times as a Protestant, but just to see history and art, you know, and to see what those Catholics have. But I'll just tell you the time after I became Catholic, I'd finished writing my book, Crossing the Tiber, which is that river right there. It's called the Tiber. You can see it down there. And I ran back then. My knees were still good. So I started out one morning on the other side, and I ran and I crossed the Tiber River. Literally crossed the Tiber River. And I ran up this road. That road is called Conciliazione, Via Conciliazione, reconciliation. Now it's a political name because of when the city-states and all that happened. But for me, it was reconciliation with God. And I came running up that road. I saw the arms of the church, that's the arms of the church reaching out to the world to embrace and invite the world into life in Christ and His church. And the first thing I saw as I came in is that obelisk. And I used to say that proves the Catholics are pagans because they have a pagan obelisk right in the middle of the church. But that obelisk was a pagan obelisk. It came from Heliopolis, Egypt. But look what's on top of it, a cross. Because Christianity always conquers over paganism. And it can redeem what's pagan and make it redeemed. I was a pagan, and through baptism I was redeemed. When Jesus hugged the leper, He didn't become a leper. He healed the leper. When you come to anything pagan, you can Christianize it and it becomes redeemed. Anyway, that obelisk has seen the whole history of salvation because that used to be a Heliopolis between Israel and Egypt. So when Abraham went to Egypt and back during the famine, he saw that obelisk. That obelisk saw Abraham. When Moses came out of Egypt, he went past this obelisk. When the Holy Family went down to Egypt and back, they went past this obelisk. Then Nero brought that obelisk here and put it, and this was it was actually over there. Nero's circus used to be just on the other side. And Peter was crucified in the shadow of that obelisk. They moved it here, and now 4,000 years later, it's still there. If it had a camera on it, it would have shown you the whole story of salvation history, and now it's standing here as a witness to that salvation history, not to paganism. Then you see the two beautiful fountains, and I realized as I come running up the need for cleansing, for baptism, for cleansing, and to be right and washed before God. Whether it's baptism or confession, whatever you do to be cleansed. And then you come up and you can see right there is Paul, and right there is Peter, the two princes of the apostles who shed their blood to found the Church of Rome. And they greeted me as I came up, and I noticed 140 other saints all along the colonnade. There's 140 saints up there. They were all saying, "Steve Ray, welcome to the church." And then I came running up and I looked at the facade. You can't see it from here. There's Jesus in the middle and John the Baptist and the apostles up there. And they're all welcoming me into the church as I came running through the square. And then when we go in, you will go to these huge holy water founts with the angels. And I crossed myself and thanked God for baptism and that I could cross myself and apply the work of Christ to my life. And then you go through this church. It's the biggest church in the world, by the way. They brag about it. You'll see they have these little bronze markers saying, well, here's St. Patrick's in New York, and here's this one, and here's that one. And we're still that much bigger than all the rest of them. So they're kind of boasting right down the center aisle. And then I came in and I blessed myself with the holy water font. And I ran up, and then when you get in there, you'll see there's the dove, the amber window in the middle. And in that amber window is the Holy Spirit. It's called the Holy Spirit window. And that means that the light comes into the church by the Holy Spirit. He brings light and life into the church. And that amber window is divided into 12 pie pieces. Guess why? Because the Holy Spirit, through the 12 apostles, brought the tradition and the life into the church. And then right below that is the chair of St. Peter, and that's a reliquary. Inside of that is part of the original chair that Peter sat in when he was in Rome. And then it's underneath there's the 4 doctors of the church. And when I do my movie, my last of the 10 movies in 2020, it's going to be those 4 doctors of the church. That's how I chose them. St. Ambrose and Augustine from the West. They have the Western mitres on their head. And St. Chrysostom and Athanasius from the East. So you have the doctors of the church from the East and the West here to acknowledge the chair of Peter and the primacy of Peter, which was given to him back in Caesarea Philippi when you've gone to Israel with me at that big rock. And the doctors of the church are not holding the chair up. The chair is held up by God. They're just acknowledging the authority of the chair. And I ran up there, and you go past the altar, and under the altar is the bones of St. Peter. He was crucified over that way a bit. We still know right where the center of the square was, the Circus of Nero. And Constantine did one of the greatest earth-moving jobs ever. This was a swampy area, and he moved Vatican Hill over here, and he built this, and he built a whole church right on the bones of Peter. Jesus said, you are the rock, and on this rock I'll build my church. Well, guess what? This church, the mother church, not the mother church of the world, St. John Lateran is, but this kind of is. This is where we all come, is built right over the bones of Peter. If you drop a plumb line from the dome down, it goes right to the bones of St. Peter underneath. And so I prayed and thanked God for giving us Peter and for the unity of the church that we have. And I prayed at the altar. I fell on my face actually, and I cried. Because I was so excited to be a Catholic and to see all this for the first time as a Catholic and run through this and notice everything. I laid on the ground and wept until the gendarmes, they kicked me. You can't lay on the ground. I said, 1 more minute. And I left a little puddle of tears there, but I was so grateful to be a Catholic, and I just wanted to share that with you because you crossed the Tiber with us yesterday, and now you've come in, and I wanted you just to get an idea of what you're walking into and what this church is meant to do. It's meant to just embrace you and bring you in all the way up to the front to acknowledge the authority of the chair of Peter and the doctors and the history, the tradition, the Holy Spirit coming through that window, through the apostles. What a beautiful thing. You know, in our old Baptist church, we could have never pulled this off. So,
how old were you?
How old?
At that day, how old were you?
I converted at 39. We probably did that when I was 40 or 41 years old.